Hi everyone, welcome. We are going to continue digging into the data set using pivot tables. Question 5 is yours. I'm going to continue with question 6. So I will try to find out what percent of items sold with a discount over 20%. And when I look at the discounts are rather a categorical variable looking values. So they are a certain number and they repeat. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna create another pivot table, and then I will now put the discounts as my categories, and I will also put the discount as my values. And instead of summing them up, I'm going to just use the field setting and I'll count the discounts. And as you can see that out of all my transactions, about half of them are not. They don't have any discount at all, and then the rest have certain number of discounts. Now I want to show them as the percentage of my total, so I can right click on these and try to look at the show values as, and percent of column total is the correct way of displaying these percentages. And when I choose that, the 0 makes about 48% of the data set and no discount, and then 80% it makes about 3% of your data, which is kind of a huge percentage there. So what we do is we are going to now look at what percent of data is over 20%. So 30%, 32%, all of them are over 20%. What I can do is I could just take these categories and I can just collapse them into a single group. So I'm just going to right click and group them. So when I group them, it also grouped the other 4. So this is a group, and I could just call this group as more than 20%. So I have a more than 20% discount, and then 20% discount, 15, 10, and no discount at all. And I could just expand or collapse these values. So I could just expand or collapse the entire field. I'm going to collapse the entire field here. So I have the 0%, 10%, 15%, 20%, and more than 20%. So I can see that the more than 20% is about 13.94%. If I want to find out more about it, I could just open that and see the individual percentages. Now I can visualize this using a chart, and to do that in here I can just add a pivot chart, and I could just use, because these are categories, I could just use a column chart. And you could also try some others. This scatter is not going to work because these are not two different variables you're comparing or you're trying to find a relation of. So I'm just going to choose the column chart, and then these are the discount percentages. You could change the title, and then if I open the more than 20%, now it expands that chart region. And if I open all of these as, just say that expand the entire field, and I can see that for all these I'm getting a new category for one of them, but there's no need to expand these fields. If I only want to expand the bottom one, I could do that, or I could just collapse them all. So I'm just going to collapse them all, and this is more than 20%, and I'm able to also show it as a table and also as a graph, as a chart. So this is one question, and I'm going to just reorder that, and this is my question number 6, and you'll learn here how to create a group. Now provide the percentage values of the number of purchases. Now you can do that yourself. And question 7 is going to be done by you. I'm just going to go and look at question 8 and 9. Now Does higher discount mean lower profit? To find that out, I need to look at the discounts here and try to look at my profit amounts per discount category. So I'm just going to create a new pivot table, and I will take my discounts again, and then I will put the profits, and instead of the sum of the profits, I'm just going to find the average profit in every discount category. So I can see now that these are the average profits and these are the discount amounts. So providing a higher than 20% discount really affects our profit amounts, so we are becoming in loss, which is not wanted. But maybe it's not a good idea to summarize or aggregate the profits, and looking at the average profits, we can look at the relationship between the discounts and the profits for every transaction. We can create a scatter plot ourselves instead of using the pivot tables. So what I'm going to do now is I highlighted discount and profit, these two columns, and I'm going to insert a scatter chart. Now this is not a summary table, but it looks at every single data value, and I'm seeing it in a better way. So my profits here, no discount, and 10% discount, 20% discount, and while going further, and I'll have more and more loss in my profits. So it is kind of showing us visually that the providing higher discount affects us badly. Now move to the last question. Is there a change in total sales over time? And does it also have any seasonal pattern? Now let's look at the data set again. In the orders, now I'm going to create another pivot table. This is going to be our last, so you have to be happy. The boring pivot table presentations are going to be over anyhow. So we'll look at insert and the pivot tables. Now I'm going to take the ship or order date. Let's just take the order date, and then I'm going to take the, was it the profit amount or sales amount? Sales over time. Okay, so I'm going to take the sales. Now you're seeing that when I added the date in here, it sorted them, it put the years, quarters, and order date. If you want, you could just expand these and expand the entire field. You can have the quarters, and then you can expand even the quarters, and you can have the months. And the numbers themselves are not really showing up very well, so we cannot understand them while just looking at a lot of these numbers. It may be a better idea to visualize using the pivot chart in here. So because this is a time series, it may be a good idea just use a line chart. And then we are going to just use the line chart and click OK. And what we are seeing is our sales, and we are kind of seeing some kind of an increase over time, a trend per month. And we could add that trend in here, just adding a trend line. Okay, so if you want to collapse this, you are going to lose some accuracy because each quarter is going to be combined, and the sum of sales is going to get there. But let's just see how it looks when we combine the quarters, and I'm going to collapse the quarters, and we are seeing the seasons as quarters, and there's seasonality and trend in here in our data set. So you could just dig further and just look at increase the granularity, or you could just look at the overall every year or every quarter. If I collapse the years, and then I'm seeing a pattern like this. Thanks for watching.